say today na the program we go talk about the coup will be happen na Guinea this BNTM, waiting this mean to some Padimano River Union country them. Now that's make na the studio this morning. We get the hub manager for the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, we na Joe Pemagui. Good morning, Mr. Pemagui, and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning, Mabel, and good morning, listeners.
Mr. Joe Pemagui from the Open Society Initiative for West Africa. We're an organization we don't work for give strength to peace, democracy, and good governance in the region. And the Mano River Union country, then aside them with these organizations don't work. And last year they opened them hub office where them base na Salon for oversee the work of the organization na the Mano River Union countries them. But the coup na Guinea we happen September 5 don't be concerned for the Open Society Initiative for West Africa. What in this mean for Guineans and also the impact on the Mano River Union country and Salon in particular. We get Joe Pemagui inside the program. Once again, good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning again, and thanks for having me. It's always good to, it's always a pleasure for this studio.
Okay, giving background to the work of Osiwa and also the hub we don't open the recent concern we get about the coup we don't happen in Guinea. Now we look at the work of the recent activities of the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, Osiwa, in line with our mandate for give strength to democracy, good governance, and peace in the region.
All right, thank you so much again. For we as a foundation, we always want a governance system who say that the people they determine who that for rule them. So for we that are the base for we own engagements across the globe. But we also want a system where people get access to information and they're able to express themselves freely without any intimidation. But let's go back. Let's put this whole conversation into some kind of context before we proceed. Guinea, a part of the Mano River Union, they share borders with at least 5 countries. So they are strategic. We look at Salon, Liberia, Senegal, Mali, all of them one in there. So that's geostrategic nature of their own location alone means we all for be concerned. Number 1. 2, make we look at the trend across West Africa. Less than 2 years ago, we get almost back-to-back coups in Mali. So that way, I then trend there what they see. Would they see them way, the one way involving governance engagement, like you say, democratic regression. Where things they go beyond. Like Italy, like now the sub-region, a few countries they go 1 step forward and sometimes 2 or 3 backwards. So we're concerned about that kind of situation in there. But Guinea, they're in a very, very special situation at this sub-region, especially Mano River. So we're concerned about that one day, and we don't engage them. But we also realize, Guinea and Salon, but not just Guinea and Salon, but Guinea, Salon, Senegal, Liberia, we get so much in common. If we talk about the linguistic or language that we all speak, we get Susu, we get people them, Susu, we also get Fula, we get Madingo them across all in 3 countries, now the Mano River Basin, but also some Malinke and Fula, then also in Senegal. So that makes Guinea also strategic. But I could also remember saying, in terms of we own economy as Sierra Leoneans, I remember we Conde been locked the border. We know what's happening. How we people will suffer, even the small businesses will suffer now. So we get that relationship there with Guinea, we're supposed to take into consideration also. But also the third thing, the next thing we really want to consider now the role of Guinea in the African Union by then, when OAU, Sékou Touré, and later on in the Mano River Basin. And Guinea, interestingly, also would under very difficult circumstances, under duress now this country, would that run country we aid. The Guinean soldiers have been come across to Sierra Leone and Liberia when they serve ECOMOG. So that a couple of them here I want to take note of. But the last thing where I would say, maybe jokingly also, is that even for special difficult circumstances, we'll get Lassa fever, Guinea itself get the same Lassa fever. We'll get situations like, how you call them, Ebola, not even Ebola. Not being Ebola, but now Corona. So all of them here make Guinea strategically located. But for we as a foundation, We don't engage that country there since 2000 across West Africa, and we don't support both the state and non-state actors in the country. So
we don't they, Mr. Pemagbi, we don't they engage that country the way in Guinea who they talk about, according to you from 2000.
Yeah.
And let we go back to issues them we don't they happen prior to President Conde in overthrow one. Clear indication them we don't they show say situation like this get for happen starting from the term where they get this in third term bid. Stay to the table, then get this then constitutional issues, then being go into the referendum for make it gain in third term. In all of them engagements there, so Guinea now being one country under first time President Conde in rule. We don't hear so many issues from opposition leader them, activists them, and self-institution them where they work around good governance and democracy in that country. They don't they complain, say, then they force them for compromise certain things them. During their engagements there, so all the issues they are not be done they come up.
Clearly they don't come up, and that make don't they engage. But you know when the political system of that country, it's been a very challenging one. From where Secretary left, we get Lansana Conte. When I mean almost like military government kind of thing we don't get in that country. Even though they get this cover, this democratic cover where they don't they hide under. You understand? But for that reason, state institutions don't compromise for the last 2 decades in that country in terms of the independence, in terms of the impartiality, in terms of the caliber of people. Not that they don't get good people, they do. But when you get almost a military dictatorial system, authoritarian system, who say that the head of state who determines what happens, then it makes it extremely difficult. So between then and up to the time where Lansana Conte and left, and then Alpha Conde win elections. But even before he win elections, remember, say by the time Conte died, we also get military coup with Dadis Camara take over. So we get Dadis 1, military regime 1 and 2, just like we get MPRC 1 and 2 now. So by the time Dadis then overthrow Dadis, Sekuba himself take over. Now he conduct elections in 2012, and we get a constitution. Conde, when I've been opposition leader for over 40 years, maybe they profess to be a Democrat, can't take over now. It just perfect all the ills of the previous system, unfortunately. We don't work with all of them. But when you deal with very stubborn people or person, we really hell-bent on maintaining your own reign, staying in power, it become extremely difficult too. But one last point on that, for me, my own biggest disappointment is that even after the coup, where ECOWAS they talk, African Union they talk, we are just a private foundation. We're not just a small organization. But we also got other moral guarantors we're supposed to help the country. But the biggest disappointment is, ECOWAS could have done a lot more. Both the ECOWAS and the African Union could have done a lot more for preventing kind of circumstances. I know see them getting shuttle diplomacy. They went in and out a couple of times. But it's extremely difficult under those circumstances. And civil society also, we supported a couple of them. We've been rallying some network of organizations who've been rallying around, FNDC, for instance, in Guinea. They really stood their ground. As a result of that, they lost at least 12 people. They killed people and they locked people up. Now, Colin Doumbouya now released a couple of civil society partners recently, So now the situation now the way you find yourself, where sometimes even for democratic situations for thrive, you also need the independence of state institutions. You struggle,
Okay. Continue for the week we inside the program Joe Pemagbi, Open Society Initiative for West Africa, Usiwa Hub Manager for Mano River Union. The program na Good Morning Salon will come to you from 98.1 FM.
In the program, where they talk about the recent coup d'etat will be up on September 5 na Guinea. What this mean to democracy and good governance na the Mano River Union and how it on the Hamburg peace na the MRU. Now some of the issues there, so Joe Pemagbi they talked about this morning. Let's come back earlier to some of the disappointments and what you say you get. One, you talk about the African Union, and if you talk about the ECOWAS, we are the parent body for all then country there, so we own as a foundation they oversee. But again, people will be done they follow development them. Now Guinea, what they talk about this morning, it clearly shows say ECOWAS we done they do some kind of backdoor negotiation, talk about the issues them, and try for bring solution to some of the issues there. So, but still, the issues them not be able to solve, and it will lead to coup d'etat.
Yes, ECOWAS on the do. They do them beat, but it wasn't enough. They'll not be able to do enough because some of these sanctions we don't get now, I think they're afterthought as far as.
So, what have been our expectation as a foundation?
The sanctions, some of the sanctions now they don't impose on this on the military junta right now. We say one of them, let me say, they for hand over in 6 months. The other one, we then say they restrict them from traveling, then continue unless they really seek. I don't want to call them permission, but unless they engage the ECOWAS authority before they move out of the country, now some of them intended. But also, if they're really ready, in the case of Sierra Leone, I remember when we had the junta here, the AFRC, when ECOWAS pinned them foot, them get an embargo, then continue, we restrict movement completely, air, land, and sea, then continue. You impose that one day, and then sure say nobody not really get any serious business with that particular government. You go see, they go answer, they go move. But they didn't do all of that. But it also brings me to the fact that even the 2001 supplementary protocol, where they look at governance and elections-related issues. I think this is not time now all for revisit that one day. And then one of the engagements, and that we'll get with the government, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs now, and civil society organizations. We get for put foot down as a body, now West Africa, all citizens of West Africa, civil society organizations, when we try to reverse that trend. This whole trend where people they try to manipulate the constitution at will, depending on what side of the bed they wake up today and decide, say, I'm going to stay in power.
You say when they put on a foot down, somebody go to
It's
wonder
not me. This is not all of us as citizens.
Somebody go to wonder
Because
say, who's
people-
MRU good day in all of this?
Well, MRE don't struggle in your own way as a small sub-regional entity. And I say, this MRU, not just a small bit, where you get Sierra Leone, Guinea, where not the now the man himself, and I know they do this, I know they lead the whole MRU outfit, then we'll get Cote d'Ivoire. But also, they remind you, also they live in our region who say, well, don't they celebrate third terms, manipulation of constitutions. So Cote d'Ivoire, just find their own way around it. Whatever, don't stay in power. After then we'll get Guinea. So they, for me, I feel say as citizens of them country, now we get for them. People's power. When civilians, when citizens of this country decide, say, they're not going to be ruled by a military junta on the AFRC, they did it. So nobody not go to work. So sometimes then you need that resolve. You need that determination of the citizens, that movement, citizens' movement for determine, say, for decide, say, this is what we're going to do as a people. Because when cost of fuel go up, not to one party, not to one group of people, they suffer. When business they go down, when the exchange rate they go bad, not to children in pocket, somebody suffer. You, Khadija, your pocket self, they suffer. So everybody, they suffer. So until the citizens, but now we get for put pressure on, we government them across West Africa and support that kind of initiative for me to review that 2001 supplementary protocol where ECOWAS get. Make them really do a lot more for stop other, just 1 second, for stop people and leaders who manipulate the constitution. Make them realize that there are sanctions. I know it's an extremely difficult one, but if citizens they really grab, when in Burkina Faso citizens then determine, say, no, we've had enough of Compaoré, then kick them out. Yes, there were consequences. But until leaders, they also realize that they get sanctions. They'll be penalized for some of their actions. They will continue to take citizens of this sub-region for granted. That's the point. And what are we all doing for ensure, say, state institutions then function properly? I mean, South Africa get their own bid. Yes, I know it's a way across, but their state institutions that fairly function. But they make deliberate effort to make sure, say, we state institutions don't function. They make a deliberate effort to compromise them. And this patronage and all of them, they don't help the situation at all. And if you get an army where, for instance, in the case of Guinea now, you sense a bit of intergenerational conflict because each time you get a military coup, young people they move the old people out. When they're generals, they move them. In the case, like now, we don't see now, in the case of Guinea, for instance, the former generals now, they don't come put them in the advisory council. And in civil society, they also issued a press release last week. Say they're concerned about the recycling where they happen, would just don't begin to happen. So then a new trend and new development in Guinea with citizens concerned about. And we don't engage them. just over a week ago. We've been there with them. I've been there with them in Guinea. So we had that meeting. They try to put together a couple of documents. They go like a roadmap now for engage the transition process, but also international community for see how we're able to help the transition. Because at this point, we can't leave them. We can't abandon that transition process. So, for instance, I hear some people, I would say this with some people, they say, President Bill not before go, or this person not before go. So what do they expect us to do? At this point, it's about self-preservation. It's about your own country. ECOWAS go issue their own sanctions and so on. But as sure say President Bionogo don't go without consulting one or two of his colleagues, especially the leadership of ECOWAS. So it's in our own interest also for make sure say some of the NTA happen.
Mr. Jolo, we look at the stiffer sanctions and you think say them for institutes on Guinea. And earlier you make mention.
No, I said with them being for don't do.
With them for don't do.
Because the 6 months one, for instance, where ECOWAS they talk about now, it's not really realistic.
Yes, now they miss still there. And earlier you talk about the strategicness of Guinea now the region, now the West African region, then get a big neighborhood and also get a very big business center. Calling on then kind of stiffer measures there, so you not think say it will get impact on the ordinary people than the leadership itself within the targets?
Well, that was then. I did say them before, don't do that one day then. But now, I don't think that should really be the approach at this point in time. I feel say ECOWAS for reconsider that 6 months ultimatum we then give to the military outfit. Because there are so many things we need to do. I mean, between the time we Condé win elections, 2010 to 2018, he, of course, began compromising institutions, number one. The voter register also compromised. Then get for conduct local government elections. Then get for conduct parliamentary elections, legislative elections, and presidential elections. Can you do that in 6 months? No, you can't clean a register, a voter register, in a month or two. It'll take a while to make you conduct all of them processes in this. So I feel, say, the ECOWAS get for revisit some of their arrangements here. But Guinea find themselves in a really peculiar situation. We make you look at the context within which some of them ban here, some of them sanctions here, safe kingdom.
All right, so we'll come back to you, Mr. Pemagbi, as we continue for look at issues them we get for do with the coup d'etat will be upon a Guinea this BNTM and how we go affect democracy and good governance in a country them like Salon. Let we go back, Mr. Pemagbi, let we look at the issues of coup that we don't they happen at the sub-region. In less than 2 years, the sub-region experienced two. One, na Mali, and in order to the same thing happen na Guinea. So most people they see now like say na like a pattern where they happen at the sub-region. And if things like this they happen, what in this mean to state institution at the country and at the sub-region and self people them where they act as activists, CSOs them and all. Now a plan for silence them voices them?
Well, I think plans always don't they, because the thing is, across them two countries we don't mention, the Mali as well as Guinea, civil society actors have been really active there. I mean, just that when you deal with a dictatorial system, they try to close the civic space for you. In Guinea, for instance, the latest actions we've been take place ahead of this former President Condé manipulation where you do for getting third term, it lock up so many people, civil society actors. Also, compromise, obviously, the security sector in the whole process. Because you can't talk about democracy and good governance without discussing the security sector. They have a key role to play in that. But you can't also talk about democracy if you not even look at the electoral management bodies where they conduct the elections. So all of the institutions here, and Guinea, the way they own EMB, electoral management body, kind of the francophone system, some of them, they get different setups. Like in the case of Guinea, you get political parties then waiting at the neck, now so then call and Seni, and get political parties then they get representatives of civil society, then kind of thing then they. So it makes it also difficult. And most of their own AMBs also can get some kind of supervision from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, for instance. So then that brings the whole issue of independence and impartiality to the fore, you know. That they bring all that into light. At the end of the day, how do you guarantee say, some of the state institutions how they function well? But coming back to civil society and actors across not just Guinea or Mali, which I didn't don't take place, we all, I think, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, and Nigeria, One of the things we will do after the coup, we've been getting what's been called a solidarity mission, civil society solidarity mission. We've been getting people from Nigeria, Senegal, so we don't operate. We also get former vice president of the Gambia, I mean, Genuine and Guinea. So we met with a host of them, including Colonel Dumbuya and other people, just for listen to them and know exactly what they're thinking, but also how we can go for help this transition process, because you can't leave them out. So now that make, what we do now, after that solidarity mission, for instance, we'll meet even Conde and Young Party representatives, the other two big opposition mandate we did, whether Sidia Toure and Selou Diallo, will meet them all and discuss with them. They also see us an opportunity now for engagement, because the whole space being closed. The man nobody listen to anybody. Conde, I mean. So now all in some of their engagement and we don't begin. Now we continue with civil society.
Talking about
we don't do last week, and we will continue this week.
Talking about engagement, Mr. Pemang, will I just bring you to the issue of President's bill in visits? Now, Guinea recently, you said meet with Colonel Dumbuya. According to waiting President's bill, impress people and say they talk about security issues, them where they get for do with the sub-region and critique them of President's bill after that visit day. Then we get their own perception about the entire visit day. Not been timely for the President's bill been go do that visit day. Una na the hub. How una been take the visit of President's bill at that time where he go do to Colonel Dumbuya, who said and talk about security issues then?
I think we'll begin this conversation this morning. I can clearly say, for me, makes sense, and ideal for abandon the transition government, Colonel Dumbuya and his team out there. What they need now is support as to how they can get the country back to democratic rule. The security of Salon depends on Liberia and Guinea. So I feel it justified for me President Bio also continue for engage, not just one-off engagement. For me, I feel now a process way for continue. They're all supposed to do it. So yesterday again, yesterday again, the president of Guinea-Bissau also visit. Because they're all neighbors. Guinea, they share, as I say, they share boundary with at least 5 countries. And if Guinea destabilized today, would they feel the impact? Bad one there. Because we get Soso, Madingo, Fula brothers and sisters across. We've got lots of Sierra Leoneans where they also fend and live in Guinea. So we have to look at all the implications of the entire. So now hango hankam. This is your neighbor you deal with. And this is fairly a strategic neighbor, even for the economy itself. It's also in our interest. Health and all across all facets of society. So we get for look at all the implications and the way for make not for President Bio not for stop that engagement. As a government, we get for continue for engage them. Because the stability of Salon also depends on Guinea. Let's take that. And it's a whole regional bloc. We got Cote d'Ivoire under. We got Liberia under. Where they go through a whole constitutional process now. So civil society get for continue for engagement process. Because one thing we former President Conde do, I've uploaded the constitution. And we also talk about constitutional review process now. So we get for make sure say the whole constitution, even though constitution is never foolproof, but constitution also makes space for progressive constitution, makes space for citizens' engagement, for respect for human rights, what I will talk about before I left here. Okay. Because when we get a massacre in Guinea, we will not still get accountability for it. And also we will get transitional justice institutions, TRC, now Liberia and Salon, and the aftermath of all in Truth and Reconciliation Commission here. How do we bring accountability into this whole conversation, not just here, but even for Cote d'Ivoire and other countries where we all continue for work. So it's very close to our hearts as a foundation. Yes, Musa.
So let's look at still on the visits. Talking about President Bio's visits to Guinea and the justification. But when you look at the relationship, this BNTM between Guinea and Salon under the reign of Alpha Condé, now one way being very strange, looking at the younger issues, looking at the closure of borders, and looking at allegation from Alpha Condé run up to the election and arrest of some Salon people on the allegation of being mercenaries sent by Sierra Leone. The president being one of the leaders them, or one of the 2 presidents them for visits Guinea. And now the world they call, or the leadership of Africa they call on the reinstation of Alpha Condé coming into power, Alpha Condé coming into power and ally of them. You not think that they will give a strain to the relationship again between Salon and Guinea once Alpha Condé or any allied close to them can have power with the visit of President
I don't necessarily think so. Honestly, I don't necessarily think so. I should say something. If I don't hold Minister of Information in answer, Mark, I mean, so can explain more because now I government spokesman for the explain. But from my own perspective and from our institutional perspective as a foundation, we feel, say, in fact, it's not just visits, but the international community, all of their country, neighboring countries, including ECOWAS, for set up a monitoring system, like a presence in Guinea right now, who will help that transition process so that they will make it speedy. If technical assistance they need in a few areas, we'll make them quick. So that if na constitutional review that they do, if na voter registered they try for clean, now local government and legislative elections and presidential elections that they conduct and do what they're able to do. But 6 months, no, clearly enough for do all anything. And I feel say we for continue to engage them.
Earlier, you make mention of respect for human rights. We in one critical issues where don't they come out, where would they talk about issues them of governance, especially in this sub-region, country then like Salon, Guinea, and Liberia. Now, one of the issues then this way people don't come out for speak, but say leaders them forget respect for human rights, and some of their issues that can lead to certain unrest them in a country them, for example, like protest and other one them. If issues of respect for human rights continue for the come up in the sub-region, within this mean would they talk about upholding democracy and good governance?
It's not good for the peace and stability of any country, any of them country. Yeah. Obviously, you're not going to talk about democracy if you don't respect human rights. So for the talk about accountability for our actions. So in the case of Guinea, for instance, we've been getting September 28 massacre in Guinea. It was 2008 massacre. We then killed well over 100 people and killed and even raped so many women and girls by then. So for me, that's one of the issues and that we're going to push for. And we as a foundation, I will see why we don't support civil society organizations. And we continue to engage even the transition government now for make sure, say, we get accountability for the incident that will happen by then. That massacre of over 100 citizens, Guinean citizens. So across the sub-region, there are access to information, freedom of expression, association, all anything that they make up with we in our organization called Open Society Values. But now the core values and that one are the core values of democracy, of peace and stability. And for make we all get that peace and stability in that kind peaceful transfer of power, you get for make sure say we state institutions like the judiciary also independent. We also get for make sure say constitution progressive enough. And I hope say I don't hear say we'll get a white paper soon on the constitutional review process. I really hope say that will happen soonest. Quick one. With the hope say that paper will come out quick one. Because it's important for this country. It's important for the... I know George, we have been trying a thing like that. We get a referendum, which was really good. But then reject a couple of provisions where it been want last year. It took the Electoral Commission a couple of months to even release that report because of that rejection there, in which it been contained. So that right of citizens will determine who governs, who rules. I mean, you know, say right now we get a catchy situation where they talk about the whole the justification for military coup and no, because sometimes, yes, people create the environment for some of them to happen. But that is no justification for make a military takeover.
Some set of people get these notions in an outdated system of governance.
It is no form of military rule not really justified, honestly. No form of military rule is the best. We always want a system. For instance, we got 81 people, one committee we are set up. 81 people did it. Civil society, women's groups, and other people they did it. But now they for they go to meet like a legislature, like parliament. People are not voting there for them one day. And what we want, a representative democracy, for goodness sake. So a military rule is not the solution. Now that make we all feel say, for work with them people then, develop a roadmap, we'll all go continue for monitor and support civil society organizations for make sure say that one day happen. So we'll get the second phase of civil society engagement. We'll done the look at the first one have been in Guinea. Today we'll get a couple of them around today. Also we'll help them just provide that space for them for continue for engage with the transition process. But the key issue is stay engaged, monitor the process, don't leave them alone. We need them. We live in a global village.
Thank you very much, Joe Pemagui, Osiwa Hub Manager. We'll be with you this morning. We'll talk about issues of democracy and good governance and the effect we coup d'etat get to sectorial. We'll be talk about this morning. Many thanks for you come and yourself throw light on some of the issues. Now they end the program. Good morning, Salon for today's edition. Alex Lawrence Puma, Michael Sambola, na them produce the program. DJ Lava give you technical support. Moses Kavora and Usman Kamara, na they make una watch we live now Facebook page. Me na Khadija Bangura, they wish you all a lovely day.
And Musa Kamara, they say bye bye.